Joining me today is the remarkable Xandria, a true pioneer in the Malawian fashion scene. Xandria is the founder and visionary behind the House of Xandria, a brand named after herself, and a brand that has redefined fashion in Malawi with its unique designs and a profound commitment to social impact. Welcome back to the Kwathu Conversation, where we explore the vibrant world of creativity and innovation across Africa. We bring you closer to the trailblazers who are shaping the future of various industries, and I am your host, Nthanda Manduwi. This series is brought to you by the Copyright Fund under Kosoma. Xandria's journey into the world of fashion began at the tender age of 7, driven by a passion that remained unwavering, even as she pursued a formal education in business administration. In 2015, at just 18, she transformed her lifelong love for fashion into a thriving business, creating House of Xandria, a name that is now synonymous with elegance and innovation in Malawi. House of Xandria is celebrated not only for its high-end apparel, but also for its dedication to sustainability and eco-friendly practices. One of Xandria's most notable achievements is organizing Malawi's first ever fashion show featuring designers with disabilities, the All Shades of Beauty fashion show. This groundbreaking event, covered by Voice of America and Zodiac Broadcasting Station, showcased the extraordinary talent of individuals with disabilities, challenging perceptions and celebrating diversity. With an impressive roster of clients including UNDP, Plan International, and international celebrities like Khanyi Mbao, Vusi Thembakwayo, Xandria's influence extends far beyond Malawi's borders. I am excited to delve into this conversation with Xandria, and without further ado, welcome to the Kwathu Konversations, Xandria. I've heard a lot about you, obviously we all have, and I want you to take me back to the beginning of the journey. I know you started this when you were quite young, so take me to the very beginning. How did it all start?
My passion for fashion started when I was, 7 years old, when I got interested in clothes. So I remember I wanted new clothes, and then I told my mom what to buy. I'm like, I want the dress to look like this, the top to look like this. And then she brought the clothes and it was completely different. And I wasn't happy. So she was like, oh, you're so difficult. This and that. So I realized that moment that I can really get what I want because it's in my head.
Yes.
So it's up to me to create what I want. So I would take some of her old clothes and put buttons on it. I would hand sew, or maybe tear some clothes and cut them into the type of pieces I want. So my passion for fashion started then, but I never went to a fashion school because my parents didn't really, they weren't really looking at it like
They didn't
something.
see fashion as...
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I went to study business administration. I went to uni when I was 14, and then I graduated when I was 18. But while I was still in the university, I would still cut my pillowcases, make skirts, my bed sheets and stuff like that. So when I graduated, that's when I started my brand. So I started with, I made this little black dress, and then I made my friend wear it, and then we posted on Facebook.
Yeah.
So from there, that's when the brand began.
Okay, that's very interesting. How old were you when you started?
18.
18. Okay,
Yes.
that's when you graduated and you
Yes, that's when I
started your business.
graduated.
Okay,
Yeah.
very young, very interesting.
Yeah.
So what have been some of your key milestones, like the things that you've achieved that you're like, okay, this was big for me?
I think the main thing was, so when I started in 2015 November, 2016 I was pushed to get a job.
Okay.
So I got a job. I would still do fashion, but partially. And then I switched jobs. I started with Airtel, and then I went to FCB, but my heart still wasn't in it because I still had customers. So I wouldn't balance work and business properly.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I decided to quit employment in 2019. So once I took off 2019, I think that's where I started seeing my very first milestones, because immediately when I did that, I started pushing on my brand, and people's response was good.
Okay.
Because that was the year that I started making for international celebrities.
Yes.
We had Questa, who came to Malawi at the time, and I had dressed him the time that he came, and it was so exciting because I'm like, oh, then this is really my thing. Yeah. So I think it's been things like that, and then moving forward to coming up with our initiative All Shades of Beautiful, where we managed to convince the government to come in and endorse this, and we've worked with different organizations. So I think some of those things are some of the milestones that I look at and
as big ones.
Proud, yeah.
All right. So you speak of All Shades of Beauty. That was 2021?
Yes, 2021.
Okay. What was the inspiration behind that?
So, there are maybe 3-4 stories to it.
Okay.
But one of the main things was the gap that I saw that was in fashion, because I knew of somebody. I had this friend who had a kid with disability, and then she had interest in clothes at a young age, like how I started, but she felt limited because she had one amputee leg, so it was so hard to wear certain clothes. So now I started doing my research in, because I felt like I'm a fashion designer, that's a problem that I need to solve. So I started doing my research on persons with disabilities and fashion, and then that's when I came up with adaptive fashion. And I started also coming across different fashion designers with disabilities, but they had no exposure or any place to showcase their work. So I was like, how about I come up with an initiative, and then these people are properly represented and are able to showcase their work and talent. So that's
the inspiration behind it. You've only had one, or are they two? The fashion shows, 3 so far.
2021, 22, 23. Yeah, we've had 3.
3.
Yes.
Do you feel like there's growth from where you started to where you are now?
Yeah, so much. So the first year was mainly the launch. So we were trying to create a platform for the fashion designers that we had, so we did. And then the second year we managed to create the platform and create a market. So we created a market for them locally, and then and we also managed to get some of the fashion designers work on an international runway. There was Portugal Fashion Week, so we had 2 fashion designers from All Shades of Beautiful showcasing at
in
Portugal Fashion Week.
Cool.
And then last year we expanded from the exposure of the market. Now we started having masterclasses where we would train the fashion designers on how to run a business in fashion. So there's been some growth.
A lot of growth. Okay, I see that. So your personal style. Now I want to talk about if you relate your personal style to your designing as a designer. So how do you define your personal style?
So I think I'll explain it. I won't just answer directly. I'll just explain it. For me, fashion is my life. It's my lifestyle. So you see me like this here, you see me like this outside. Because that's who I am. So I'm not really the simplicity basic. I love simplicity, but if it's simplicity, maybe with a little class in it or
a twist.
Exactly. So I'm not basic. I think that's the main thing I can say. I'm not basic. So that's just me and my style and my lifestyle.
And do you feel like your designing is inspired by your personal style, or do you tailor it to every individual as they come, or maybe a bit of both?
Let's say a bit of both, because there are times where I look at you and I'm like, oh, Nthanda, I want you to wear this and that's going to look great. And if you agree, that's me on my personal style. And then there are times you come to me as a client and you say, oh, you know what? I like this, but how about we do this, this and that? So it works both ways.
Okay. So how did you transition your passion for fashion? I know you've spoken a little bit about it, to now thinking that this has to be a business. This has, as you're going full time, especially leaving your job. What was that transition like?
So I've always felt like I wasn't really, when I was working, I always felt like I'm not doing what I'm meant to do.
Yes, your purpose.
So it was that thing where, yes, I'm working, but my heart is elsewhere. So now when I quit, I have to make a living out of this regardless. So I was like, how about I use the thing that I love to also make a living out of that? So that's how the business started.
Okay. And then we'll talk about strategy now as a business person. I know you've spoken a little bit about addressing some big names. I might think that might be strategy. So what have been some strategies that you have used to make sure that your brand is known and sustainable?
So the main thing, I believe in quality. I believe in giving people quality and making people look their best. So for instance, people like Kwesta was coming to Malawi, and I'm like, he's coming to Malawi, so why not me advertise the Malawian market to him as well, and let him have a feel of what Malawian clothes rather are like. So I think for me it's just I want to get the word out more. So even if it means that I'm going to lose and work with certain people, just so people can appreciate that and also come through and have a feel of that. I think that's one of the main things that I focus on.
Okay, and in terms of changing trends in fashion in the world, I know you do your research. Are there any trends that you find interesting, and how do you adapt to them?
Funny thing, I think for me now, I love the modesty type of dressing, like what you're wearing. You look very sexy, but it's not too much. You're not trying too much. So it's funny how back then it was an old type of thing, like wear something long, wear something this. So the fact that now it's coming back, it's one of the things I love to see.
It's a really big comeback. I think I saw a lot of people wearing that. It's very interesting.
It's very elegant.
It's very elegant too. But I also feel like it might play to our age and where we are in life.
Same.
I think about it that way.
Because I also thought maybe I'm just getting old. But
honestly, I see myself. I'm like covering up a lot more, and I'm like,
right.
The age is coming out. The age is coming out.
It is.
So in a competitive market, how do you position House of Xandria to stay relevant?
Okay, I'll go back to my point of value and quality. So I want when a person wears something immediately, if they had
a signature.
And if you didn't have confidence, immediately you have this confidence in you. There are people that I've seen that come here and dress up, and the way they move immediately changes as well.
What they're wearing.
So I feel like for us, it's more than just clothes. It's about personality. It's about your lifestyle. We want to have an impact on you as a person, on how you see yourself. So I think that's what makes it.
Okay. Now, going to aspiring designers that maybe look up to you, what are some of the essential skills and knowledge you think they should have? What do you wish you knew when you were starting at 18 that you know now?
I think one of the main things is not limiting yourself, because there are times, I remember even when I was in uni, people would say, oh, that's weird, who would wear that, things like that. So a little bit you get a little shaky because you're like, oh, maybe they're right, but I'm glad I didn't listen. So I think to other fashion designers, they should create that what they feel they need to create, because everybody has different styles, different art. So the world wants to see new things coming in. So you come up with a different design, you'd be surprised how people are excited and want to try something like that.
And I feel like creativity and innovation, that's the beauty of fashion, isn't it? You try something and it works.
That works.
Now, speaking of innovation and creativity, how do you incorporate that into your art when you're making an outfit, like creativity, innovation? I know like the floral design you have, I know there's a lot of like innovation that has to go into that. So how do you incorporate it?
So the other thing that we can't run away from is the times that we're in. There are times where there are times where we don't even sew an outfit. We make it out of there's this glue that we use, but it's a glue that once it sticks, it doesn't go. So there's certain items that if you want it to be very innovative, you have to run away from the old way of doing things and then incorporate the new way of doing things. But also taking you to the adaptive fashion that I mentioned, now we have brought in things like magnetic buttons, because we've seen there's certain people that fail to wear clothes because they can't button themselves. So now having things like magnetic patterns, once somebody puts on a shirt, automatically it closes. So so I think that's how we're
okay. The fashion industry in Malawi, I know we've moved a lot from where we started, but we still have a long way to go. What are some of the challenges that you feel you're facing as maybe an individual or as a collective, maybe some other fashion designers that you know? What are the main challenges in the fashion industry?
I think the main challenge right now in the fashion industry is the fact that we don't have any manufacturing factories here for fabric. So it's expensive to get fabric, especially things like laces, satins. You need to order from outside. So it becomes expensive. So it's expensive for the buyer, it's expensive for me, but at the end of the day, I also want to give you something that's going to last long. So it's not hard to sell. It's not very easy to sell something that's on a higher price.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's that challenge, and then where you're trying to convince people that, okay, this is like this because of the fabric. So I think that's the biggest challenge now. And also we get limited to creating some of the things because we don't have those materials here. Yeah.
I do know there was Mapeto at some point that used to produce fabric. Do they still do that?
They do, but Mapeto is just chitenje.
It's cotton.
Yes. So that's the problem.
Yeah,
and it's not expanded. Yeah, it's not a fabric that you would use every day. Yeah, it's normally used for wedding color for families and all of that. Okay. Do you know of any entrepreneurs that are getting into that space of producing? Because I know we produce cotton as a country, right? We farm it, but we're exporting for it to be produced somewhere else. Do you know any entrepreneurs that are getting into that space, or is that a space that maybe that might be an opportunity for those listening? Yeah, I think for us that's actually one of the spaces we're trying to go to.
Okay.
Because we have seen that gap. We are in the industry, so we feel like maybe we are the right people to
tap into
that.
Okay.
But honestly, I don't know of anyone right now that's also
getting into that space.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I know there's a lot of learnings over the years as a business. What's your most valuable lesson? What's the one thing that you've learned that you're like, okay, this was a big one for me? I know there's many.
Let's see. I think patience.
Okay.
And every day I'm always like, oh, this business has taught me so much patience, and tolerance. That sometimes people are like, oh, this, all that, and I think that's one of the biggest things that I've learned because I deal with people every day. So it's also teaching me a different personality as a person. So I think that's one of the things that I've learned, and persistence as well. Yes.
Okay. Let's see. I think. Okay. Yeah. Supporting your work. How can people support your work? Where can they find you? And we start with where we are now in your shop. Where do they find you, or online?
So we are located in Area 18B in Malawi.
Yes.
Lilongwe. Yes. Area 18B, Bluebird Complex.
Okay.
It's very close. It's a very known complex.
Yeah.
But on social media, on Instagram, it's @I am_Xandria. Twitter, it's _I am Xandria. TikTok, I am Xandria with an X, Xandria with an X. Facebook, Xandria Fashion Brand.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
What an insightful conversation with the Xandria Designs, House of Xandria. We have learned a lot about fashion, the state of fashion in Malawi, some of the challenges, some of the opportunities, and things that up and coming young designers can learn and do better to push forward the fashion industry in Malawi. You were with me, Nthanda Manduwi.